President Trump again stepping up the pressure on Attorney General Jeff Sessions to probe the Obama administration over its failure to stop Russian interference in the election. The president tweeting out, quote, question, if all of the Russian meddling took place during the Obama administration right up to the January 20th, why are they the subject of the investigation? Why didn't Obama do something about the meddling? Why aren't Dem crimes under investigation? Ask Jeff Sessions. And supporters of Michael Flynn are urging the former national security advisor to consider withdrawing his guilty plea in the Russia probe. The calls come amid reports former FBI Director James Comey told lawmakers last year that Flynn did nothing wrong. The Flynn case is also being handled by a new judge who has been tough on the Justice Department in the past and has ordered prosecutors to share evidence with the Flynn legal team that might help their client. Our next guest has been out front covering these new developments in the Flynn case. We're joined by Byron York, chief political correspondent for the Washington Examiner and a Fox Business contributor. Byron, good to see you. What is the latest on the possibility of Flynn's reversal, the plea reversal?
We don't really know what's going on. That's really the latest here. We do have some hints. You're right. Back in March of last year, James Comey, who was then the FBI director, told Congress that the agents who had interviewed Flynn did not believe that he had lied to them. In that interview, it was on January 24th of last year. Something changed between there and when Flynn pleaded guilty in December. The big change, though, of course, in the case has been the judge, the change in the judge. We don't know why the old one left immediately after taking Flynn's guilty plea on December 1st, but he did. And the new judge has a routine, has a habit of essentially ordering prosecutors to make sure they turn over any exculpatory evidence. What was kind of unusual here is when the judge does that, Flynn has already pleaded guilty. Yeah. And so you have to think now they're wrangling over under what conditions the evidence would be handed over. You have to think that this thing is still alive.
Well, the question, first of all, we should remind folks the person who did the interviewing among the FBI included Peter Strzok, who was vehemently anti-Trump. We remember those dozens, hundreds of messages with his friend at the FBI in which he talked about how bad Trump was, how it'd be a disaster if he was ever. So if he believed that Flynn was actually innocent, there's got to be something to that. I'm wondering now, though, whether this exculpatory data that comes out, whether we'll have any access to it, because it may include some stuff that could be very revealing about this whole case.
Everything's been really secret so far. By the way, on the Strzok thing, the news report that revealed those texts from Peter Strzok to Lisa Page and the FBI, that came out the day after Flynn pleaded guilty. So Flynn pleaded guilty without having any knowledge of any sort of bias issues with the lead FBI agent in the case. Whether things change now, we don't know. We don't even know whether there's a time limit by the judge imposed on the prosecution to turn stuff over, although we have to think there probably is. By the way, the judge said to the prosecutors, look, if you think something is borderline, let me see it. Yeah. So he's been fairly strict with the prosecution.
Well, one thing is that a lot of folks who are friends of Flynn say, look, maybe he shouldn't go for a plea reversal because he could have been charged with something much worse. If he cut a deal with Mueller, taking a charge of lying to a federal agent, that could be much less offensive in the eyes of the law than what Mueller let him get away with. Is there something that might come out of this evidence that will be released that will reveal exactly what other charges were brought against him?
Well, you have just laid out a real possibility here. First of all, those of us who are looking into the Trump-Russia affair, clearly the Flynn case, because it involved Flynn talking to the Russian ambassador and the Obama Justice Department going after that on what seemed to be dubious grounds, that is a major, major part of the whole Trump-Russia affair. But you're right to suggest there could be other things like Flynn's representation of Turkey during the campaign, by the way, could be some sort of problem, and it could be that the prosecutors had other stuff on him, and pleading guilty to a single charge of lying to the FBI may have been his best option and would remain his best option even if we learn about other evidence.
And, of course, they were also putting the squeeze on his son. Maybe he just did this to make sure that his son was released from their prying eyes. Byron York, good to see you, my friend. Thank you very much.